So welcome, Rabbah Noyman Saphir. I'm very grateful to you for being here. I think of you as a very high spiritual teacher. So this makes...
Thank you for having me. Let's start with this.
Well, it's also, I feel we've always had some kind of mysterious connection, so which I don't explain. So, and we're going to discuss whether there is, or what kind of relationship there is between spirituality, which already I believe you will define in a way that I'm sure will be very important for us to hear, and then what I call trauma-informed leadership, for instance, and how the two have a synergy if they do. So I know we had a discussion a couple of weeks ago, and I think it would be good that I will begin by just clarifying a bit what I mean, because it's definitely subject to misunderstanding, as I imagine what you may say will be. So really what I wanted to make clear, because it's a new field that's emerging, and it's called trauma-informed leadership, which means that as part of our development, we believe that we need to attend to trauma. But this has nothing to do with wellness. It's not even necessarily to do with therapy, although I think that has a place. This is something that is much more of an energetic reality. So for instance, let me give some concrete example, and then I'd love to hear your view. So sometimes I say most boardrooms are swimming in lakes of grief. But that's an energetic reality. And I believe that if we don't attend to those, which actually just means we need to feel, we don't need to fix or heal or change, that energy can move, because if it doesn't, people are making decisions on top of a very frozen energy field, because that grief is frozen inside. To give one more example, because trauma, as I understand it, has a personal component, it has an ancestral component, and it has a collective component. So for instance, when I work in groups, we get to a certain point where some, if not many, of the women in the group start to realize they are holding inside a lot of rage. And this is rage that is very understandable because of centuries of abuse and so on and so forth. When that energy, when we can make it safe enough to actually directly in the body feel that rage and have it met and received, there's an incredible flow of life energy. And then for me, that leads very naturally to at least part of what I call awakening, which is a great sense of community, of oneness, of ultimate connection, even what I would call connection with spirit. So that's my kind of opening comment, and now I would love to hear how you respond.
I think you're speaking about healing without saying healing. You're speaking about a field of energy that because there is a consent to have a certain presence in it, healing occurs.
Right.
More than a praxis or therapy or going into it, just allowing it, recognizing it, and allowing it to be present has in it a field of healing.
Exactly.
Did I get you correct?
Yes, yes.
Without interfering, sort of, not mentally and not emotionally trying to sort of mold it,
Exactly.
or explain it, or even subdue.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Exactly.
if we speak about field of energy, I would like to make the distinction between it's not by accident. This week, the portion of this Shabbat of reading Torah is Ba'alutcha, and this portion of Torah speaks about Moses, Moshe, actually asking for the first time. We hear a prayer of healing about his sister, about Miriam. Now, what actually caused Miriam, his sister, to need healing? It's because she's speaking, well, she's not speaking with a recognition, a deep enough recognition about Moses. Meaning her speech, she's actually asking something to do with why Moses is not with his wife, why he's separated from his wife. And is it his inclination, or is it actually the Creator's request of him to live that way? So basically, she's asking a question that has to do with the world to come, after reforming, after tikkun, what it's called. And it's too early. So she's getting what the root of trauma is wound.
Right.
She's covered with a huge wound, which is leprosy. Now, leprosy, not in English, but in Hebrew, is when you found fault in someone else, or when you find that the reality or any event or life is actually bad. Even if we go even deeper, is ruled by evil forces. So it's to find evil or to find something bad. What you wear is a wound of isolation.
Exactly.
This
right.
is leprosy, a wound of isolation.
Right.
So a wound of isolation is, let's say, is the state of humanity.
Yes.
We are covered with that wound, which is called leprosy.
Right.
Which in kabbalistic term it's called sgir. It means it is close to the light. Leprosy equals in spiritual terms close to the light. There is so healing of it is to reopen oneself to the light. No, not to the light of existence. Because light of existence, we have permission. And within the light of existence, we can sort of, there is an allowance to choose the way we prefer, the way we perceive, to sort of express our morality, our preference, our hierarchy of importance. But it's within the wound. It's within the wound. It's not breaking out. So even, for example, through what you sort of described and shared with us, it's still within the wound. This is what I'm saying, because spirituality is actually being able to break through the leprosy, that membrane of isolation. It's not, you speak about membrane of isolation between ourselves and something that we carry. Okay. And I would say that sometimes, if we are at work, not if we are not at work, if we are in the midst of spiritual work, which I'll define, then we can find meaning for that wound, because the wound itself becomes, I would say, the very vessel, or the very power in which we can tie ourselves again to that which we were separated from.
That I don't fully understand. Can you say that again, please?
It's called rear and front. Thou created me, meaning the rear is the dark side of me, and the dark side of me is not sort of a description of my fault or description of my evilness, or it's a description of how I have to define the light that needs to come in. How I present that which will call for this particular light. This is the rear. Okay. But in order to get to it, you need to have a permission to break through this leprosy, the wound which we are. This is our reality, meaning our mental and emotional reality. So it's called, for healing that, it's the shortest prayer in the world. It's actually El Rafa Na La. So El Rafa Na La. You have about 4 words, which speaks about healing. But I want to say something else about healing in Hebrew. You see, we say and we adopted it into Hebrew as well, the word healing. But you see, when you count the angels, you don't say the healing angel, you say Raphael. You have 4 angels, 4 archangels, which is Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael. Raphael is the angel of healing because it's Rapho. Okay? It's in the root. What I'm trying to say, I know it's condensed what I'm saying, so I'll try to open it. Because when we speak about, even when we speak about healing, or when we speak in spirituality, we need to speak about the relationship between a branch and a root. And people usually speak about spirituality in terms of the branch, meaning the externality of it. The root, we say the internality of it. Okay. For example, all Kabbalah, one of the names of Kabbalah is Torah, meaning in the internality of Torah. It's not all Torah, of internality of the human. What is the internal? No, internal, not in terms of what is external and internal when we visualize something corporeal, but internal and external in spiritual terms, which is to do with something which is a pill, and it has it's the opposite of eternal. So everything that we actually deal in spirituality has to deal with terms and experience of being eternal. It will never stop.
Eternal.
It will never cease to be. So everything that is corporeal cannot be part of spiritual, though it's a carrier of the spiritual experience. It's not completely detached.
Right.
But what is present in us corporally, and it can be soul, and it can be environment, and it can be whatever people call chakras or whatever they would call a power field. It's still corporeal, though it's more refined. It's moving more towards the laws of energy, for example, than of matter. Actually, we know that there's no difference. It's a matter of condensation. Okay. So this is why when you speak about it, I think it's very useful. Whatever healing is being allowed, because healing is the permission. It is said in Kabbalah that there is a permission for the doctor or for any healer to heal. Why there is a permission to heal corporeally, or even, let's say, trauma, this wound. The issue in it is that the corporeal need to be able to carry the spiritual journey. And if it is too occupied with itself,
yes,
and with let's say pains, and so too occupied with oneself, which is the disease of the 20th, 21st century, too occupied with oneself, it cannot bear anything apart from itself. There's no room.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So you're saying that maybe if we deal with trauma, then there is a room for something else.
Exactly.
But it needs to be guided.
Yes.
It's not automatic.
Right. Yes. Maybe let's just pause for a moment, because I mean you've said so much. And I've had the experience before talking with you where my mind follows some of what you're saying and not all of it, while at the same time there's like a very high energy present. So I'm curious about that. And then I would love you to say more about how you would really define healing and how you define spirituality, because I believe we should really hear what you say about that. But what you just said gets very close to how I would see it, because I totally agree that the general state of our culture, first of all, you use the word isolation. I would also use the word exile, like in a profound state of exile. It's characterized by the fact that, as I see it, the majority of us live in a very small world and very self-obsessed. Like even when you talk to a lot of people, you feel they're not really feeling me. They're not really listening to me because they only have their own bubble. It's like living in their own...
Leprosy.
I love that. So in my experience, once there is what I would call some healing process, and I think at the beginning you said it very accurately, it's that we recognize, we allow, we feel, and then there is an opening in our nervous system. And exactly there is room for something else. I think that's what's very, very important. There's room often, and I do agree it needs some guidance. There is room for a completely new, I would call it connectedness. It's like my bubble of isolation starts to melt.
Yeah.
Even we can say the heart opens. I'd love to hear how you think about that. That often, I mean, in many spiritual traditions, the heart is very fundamental. Because when our heart opens, our whole sense of isolation tends to dissolve. My heart can't open when there is a lot of feeling in me I'm not aware of. That's literally a contraction.
And first, exile is a very sort of kabbalistic term to describe being away from the Creator, being away from ourselves, being away from a meeting point.
Right.
It's exile from that, and that is a meeting point. It's even a sort of copulation point, with the light. Okay. So it's a place of meeting to know, in order to be able to know, and to know even in the biblical sense, to know a man or to know a lady, in that respect. So to know the light it means that I have enough room to allow it to penetrate.
Yes, exactly.
So I don't know if it's an expansion of the heart, or it's not an expansion. It's sort of something is being taken out, and something is coming to sort of fill it in. I'll describe it in the way that Zohar and Ari has a description of the creation. Creation, the first pulse of creation is an expulsion of light. Meaning the createe to be is being given a permission, which is really not actually. It's very difficult to understand this permission, because it's a permission to override the wish of the light to extend itself. So the vessel can expel it. I mean, it can override the extension. So first, there is sort of emptying oneself, not in order to stay empty as an ideal, but in order to recognize that I don't have anything of myself. And if I want to actually define myself as a will, I need that connection with the light. So now it's a choice. So what is sort of created in the first place is what is called a void space, which means it's not so void. It's a space which in it there is a void of the presence of the light of wisdom, meaning the light of life, as the Creator wished to give to humanity. And the whole journey of humanity is actually to be able to do a Creator act, in order to evacuate myself from myself to create a place for Him, or through another human being. So, for example, you're saying feeling and thoughts and traumas of the way we explain ourselves to ourselves. So there's no room. So this is the exile, and this is what is called the leprosy. So I'll go back to what I started, for Miriam, for example.
Yes, please.
Okay. So Moshe is asking the Creator, is asking God to heal her. But the answer is that she needs to sit in isolation for 7 days. But the real healing happens with the community, because no one from Israel moves for 7 days. They're waiting for her. All of Israel are waiting for Miriam. It means all of that consciousness is waiting to be able to move forward or to come near the Creator only when she will be able to. So what I'm trying to say is that if we want to heal exile, it's not of one person.
Right.
Okay. It's to do with the community, and it has to do with a very, very deep spiritual recognition of how we belong to each other, how we are depending on each other. Not in terms of the apple that I eat through the world,
Yes.
but that we are not reflecting each other. We're actually one organ, meaning there is the almost visceral belonging. Okay. So I cannot actually see or find evil in someone else, because then it is in me, and then it's within the isolation. Again, it runs into thickening the isolation that I have from the true world. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. When something in that kind of session of healing, of trauma, if there's not an insertion of Torah, of something higher, almost as a content, then people will go out of it, and it's just a question of time when they will sort of revive the trauma.
Right. Yes, I think I can resonate exactly with what you mean. So maybe you could say more about how you would see that insertion, you call it like the insertion of the Torah. And also maybe if you can speak, because I think it's a very particular language you use when you speak about the Creator, and maybe it's connected. What is what you call the insertion of the Torah? I would love to hear you speak about this.
Insertion of Torah, we call it from, because we don't know how it happens from high to low. We know how it happens from low to high. And the way it happens from low to high is studying.
Studying. Mm.
Yeah. I'm taking the words of the letters, through the letters, and this is a definition. Through the letters of Torah, I'm getting the action of light. Not the light, the action of light.
As a transmission.
Yes. As a presence, as a something that through it's like the words of Torah, specifically I'm thinking about Kabbalah, is causing with intention, of course. So it's studying with intention to come. My intention is to come up to a meeting point, to come to the surface of myself, meaning to the limitation of myself. The study need to cause in me the sensation of the limitation of my understanding and my feeling. Because otherwise it will not cause in me the need.
Right.
So the most important thing that a study causes is a need for the light. But it actually etches us, engrave us with a need. This is the first, this one, so it need to be, okay, we move to the surface of ourselves, to the limitation of ourselves. Okay. And say the stealing of, and we cannot break it by ourselves. So by expressing the need, let's say the reaction of the light is breaking, at least for a moment. Now, when it broke it enters and it becomes my new limitation.
My new limitation.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I internalize it as knowledge.
Right.
Okay.
So I still take it. So there's still an I taking it.
Absolutely. So now there is a new limitation and a new need for let's say more amperage of the interference or insertion of the light. So this is how I move. So one of what I'm saying when I'm saying insertion is you need to establish sort of the condition in which in which the light actually taught us through the Kabbalistic writing, how to create this condition or this field in which we will compel, in a way, the light to interfere with us.
Mm. So
every lesson I'm trying to call the light to interfere with people, because I cannot do it and they cannot do it for themselves. Okay?
Right. So this happens through study and the study together.
Study together, which, let's say, the base of it would be heal our exile.
Yes.
Heal
yes.
our separation.
Yes,
because
exactly.
we want to, it's weak.
Mm.
We need to get to a point of we need to.
Right.
We need it so badly.
Yeah.
It becomes a question of life and death. Not, we need it because it would be nice to study Kabbalah. It would be nice to be spiritual this weekend.
Yeah. One of the things that I sometimes see that I think may be what you're talking about is when people are ready to feel what an emptiness there is inside without the light.
Mm. But this is maybe when they will become desperate. I would like people to become desperate enough for the light, not for answers.
Yes, I accept.
Not for solutions.
Or not for relief.
Yeah, not even for relief.
Yeah.
Because it's all when we ask for this, it's sort of imprison us really inside the will to receive to oneself.
Mm, right.
It's a different word for our ego or and sometimes healing in all sort of ways, which speaks about the soul, the corporeal, the feeling, helps the input to thicken the prison.
Say more.
It's because it offers a sort of a relief.
Mm.
Because it offers relief, I'm no longer spiritual power is to recognize the entrapment in ourselves and to recognize that we can to need the partnership and to need the higher.
Mm.
And we're trying to solve our exile without a higher.
Right. I think this is so fundamental to your teaching. Yeah.
In true healing, you see the story of healing inside Torah involves not only people and their state, it involves God.
It involves
God. It involves the Creator.
Right.
It's a triangle. It's not too, the healer is back. Okay.
Yes. You were speaking about the triangle. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying if there's no presence of the higher,
yes.
And I'm not speaking about higher consciousness, or I'm speaking about higher which is not yet in me, which is not yet sort of penetrated, which we call the name in different names, Havaya, God, the Creator. If we don't have that power within the ingredients of what we're dealing with, we cannot actually call what we're doing spiritual.
Right.
Even if we are, as a healing, pray to God for help, it's nothing to do with that. It's to do with the need for it of all the participants. And it has to do with a transformation of the will to receive to oneself, not the abolishment of it. It's a transition and transformation and transmutation of the way we use it. And we cannot use it without the presence of the will of the higher, the will of the Creator. Now we are in the vicinity of spirituality.
Yes.
So So permission to heal and permission to sort of be aware of our state, and it can be a base, but if there's no guidance from above, or sort of conditioning where to take it to, and it does not create this particular need, because as the Kabbalists say, the spiritual journey starts when there is an awakening of the point of the heart. It's a very abstract sort of notion. What is this point of the heart that has been awakening? Okay. It speaks about point, in kabbalistic terms, is want. What is missing? Point represents that which is missing. So the first question of spirituality is why I'm not able to feel God. I felt many presences that moved me, that sort of, I'm speaking in general what a person was saying, many events and presences that moved me. Through that, all that, this point is causing me to realize that I'm empty from the ability to feel, and then I want to feel. Now we are entering. Now there is an openness or a gate for starting a spiritual journey.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I know we said we would keep this to roughly 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I think we arrived at a point of enormous richness, from which we could talk another 45 minutes.
I'm sure.
Maybe we'll have a part two, but this is really, I think a lot was covered here. So I'm very, very grateful.
I'm grateful for you for allowing me to stay to express it to an attentive ears. You've always been, I think, one of my best interviewers. You managed to pull. I feel safe that I can speak, the truth of things as they come through me. I don't need to sort of mitigate it or sort of soften it.
No, you don't.
So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I do believe what we've said may be very useful. So thank you very, very much. Until the next time.
Until the next time. Thank you, Nicholas. And be well.